in an application for this so you could learn how to do whatever because you know I've called you to build it. You haven't done it yet because of fear, because you don't feel qualified, or because someone is telling you that you're not, because they're telling you that you don't have what you need based on their experience and what they have from operating in that position. And I'm here to tell you that you do. What's up, everyone? It's your girl, Crystal Antoinette, back with another edition of Queen Conversations. So what is Queen Conversations? It's where we, God's daughter, his queen regents, talk about all things kingdom, truthfully and transparently. Well, this year, there is a lot going on, and there are going to be 3 things that we talk about this year, and it'll all make sense as we go. And that is boldness, braveness, and being beautiful. So for this month, we are going to tackle boldness. Listen, God has called us to do a lot of things. And, when we first hear the yes, or when we get the confirmation, it's super exciting, right? We're ready to go forward. We have all these ideas, and then it's time to execute. And when we go to execute, there's always opposition that happens. Whether that is people believing in us who are our friends or family, whether that's someone literally from the enemy's camp that's trying to stop what you're doing, whether that's stopping an application, or someone in an office being difficult, when you need to talk to someone, a gatekeeper trying to trap you and not let you make the connections you need to make, any of those things. There's always something that we have to overcome, something that we have to conquer on our way to our destiny. And that causes us to have to come to a point where we have to decide that we are going to move forward boldly in faith, or whether we're going to retreat in fear. And so today we are going to tackle 1 Samuel 17. It is about one of my most favorite guys in the Bible. I love this dude. It is David, right? I love the underdog. And a lot of times that's who we are, right? God chooses the least of these, not the people who are already at the top with the most influence, but the people who have been faithful in the pasture. And that is what happened with David. And so when we go to 17, David was doing his thing. Now, keep in mind, David was already anointed. So he's already been told over all of his brothers and everything, you're the one. You are the guy that God is going to use to be the next king, right? And then he has to go back into the pasture. How many of us got that dream, or, God said, yes, do that particular project, or we made a connection with someone which seemed like that was going to be the thing to propel us forward. And then in reality, right, we had to go back to the pasture. So we're entrepreneurs, but it's not quite time for us to come off our job, or, God has said you're going to be a minister, but you're still serving as an usher or as a greeter, or, whatever the thing is. Maybe you're called to be a writer, but nobody has yet picked up your manuscript, right? You have to go back to the things that you were doing before, being faithful in the areas that God has already given you influence, and then also maintaining that level of intimacy with God. It's so important. Just staying with him and making sure your energy, making sure your oil, making sure your ability to hear and see is staying as crisp and clean as possible. So when he says it's go time, you're ready to go. And so the first point is it doesn't matter. So David went, and he was originally just supposed to be dropping off some bread and cheese. That's what his father sent him to do. And he went into this camp where all these people already were, and nobody was moving. So you got Goliath out here challenging the people, right? Like, what y'all gonna do? Challenging the people, and all of these men who have come through Jericho, these men who have taken multiple cities, like, y'all got the resume of God. You feel me? You got the resume of God. And these men are not moving. Why? Because Goliath is 9'9", and he is decked out not only in armor, but he has the weaponry to match. Amen. And so David comes and he's asking people. So if you go down to verse 26, it says, "Then David spoke to the men who stood by him, saying, what shall be done for this man who kills this Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" Right? This is you. How many of you are in places and in spaces where you see something is wrong, something is off, it's not the way God intended, it's out of order, it could flow differently. You see, like, maybe they're doing the thing, but they don't have the heart of God, the compassion for people that they should have in those scenarios. And you're asking around, right? You're trying to figure out, why are things this way? Well, why do you do that? Or why does this function this way? Has anybody asked questions, right? And then the response to you is probably very similar to the response that David got. Verse 27, the people answered him in this manner, so shall it be done for this man who kills him. Then Eliab, his oldest brother, right? Here we go. Heard when he spoke to the men, and Eliab's anger was aroused against David, and he said, "Why did you come down here?" Come on, how many of y'all have had that? "And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your pride and the insolence of your heart, for you have come down to see the battle." So this ain't got nothing to do with you. Ain't nobody even talking to you, right? But you're now sticking your nose in my business, right? How many of you guys have to deal with that? You know God is showing you something. You know God has put a passion or sometimes a righteous anger about something. Like he is stirring up your spirit about something because he's created you to be an agent of change. And more often than not, it's not someone you don't know. It's always someone you're familiar with, because the enemy knows that those people that we're familiar with, they have our heart. We care about what they think about us. We care about, the perception. We care that they're proud of us and all of these things. How crazy is it that not only does he try to play him, those few sheep, right? You just got you're not even qualified to be here, is what he's saying. Y'all, because I read that. Who do you got looking after those little few sheep? Those little few sheep. And then to turn around and then say, "I know it's your pride." Well, if I'm the boy on the backside of the pasture who just have these few sheep, where did the pride come from? It's not pride. I'm asking you guys the question. I'm asking those who already have the title and the position, what's happening? And I'm not even asking in a way that is challenging your authority. It's really an inquiry. I'm just wondering what's going on. But the enemy knows in that moment, because we have been isolated. That's why there's a reason always for the isolation. Yes, part of it is development, but sometimes it's because God does not want the world to influence us in the way that he wants us to influence the world. So he keeps us isolated from the world long enough until it's time for us to move, so that when we need to see whatever it is that we need to see, when we need to be sensitive in the spirit, the way we need to be sensitive, we haven't been so desensitized, right? Or we haven't fallen in with the status quo, because we have been on Mount Zion, because we have been in the pasture, in the secret place with God. We can see what he needs us to see, and we're still sensitive enough to his spirit that fear has not overruled our intimacy and our relationship with God. And so that is what has happened here. It's not that these men weren't mighty men of valor. It's not that they had not ever been in battle and won. They had. But they had been so overrun with fear, with the taunting of Goliath day in, day out, with the logic of what they see versus spiritually what they know of the God that they serve, that they fell into a place of compliance and defeat. The only thing that they had not done yet was walk away or say, we will be your slaves. But literally standing still in the midst of a battle, standing still in the midst of a territory that God said was yours, was defeat. They were already living there in their heart, in their spirit, and in their mind. And God is raising Davids. He's raising the shepherds on the backside of the pasture. He's raising you to go into these spheres where you have not yet been intimidated by fear. You have not been overrun by the taunting, or been in the place long enough to be saturated where your logic is overtaking your faith to go and do the things that other people won't do, that other people have given up. And so it does not matter. It doesn't matter who is already in your field. It doesn't matter who's already in the position. It does not matter who's already on the stage. When God calls you forward, he calls you forward. And no one else gets to dictate what you do with that except for you. Except for you. And so David doesn't allow this to hinder him, right? He speaks in humility with his brother, and he keeps moving forward. And then he says, I need to talk to Saul. So if we go down in 31, we hear that the words of David finally reach Saul. And then Saul's like, bring him to me, right? So David is talking to him. 32, then David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine. So he's laying it out. David has so much faith that he's not even allowing what his brother, who is essentially an agent of the enemy, to be a gatekeeper, to deter him from moving forward. So the mocking didn't work. Trying to make me feel belittled didn't work. Trying to get me to rethink why I'm here. Like, did I hear right? Am I being proud? Is that? We're not doing that. I need to talk to who's in charge. Let me talk to who's in charge. And so he went all the way up. Now, he did also meet resistance here again, but what did David do? David laid out his resume. This is what I have done in the pasture. You, my dear sister, have a resume. There are things, there are secret battles, there are processes God has brought you through, there are healing journeys, and there is deliverance that you have gone through in this year, last year, and the years before that have processed you and made you ready for such a time as this. And so when people question why you should be ready to move, what we're not going to do is compare ourselves to where they are. Right? David didn't say I'm more qualified to be king because of that. He didn't even bring that up. He said, what I have done is fought the bear and I fought the lion, and I have protected my sheep. In the same way that I have victory over this bear and the lion is the same way that God will give me victory over Goliath. My sisters, the same way that God has given you victory over the bear, victory over the lion, he will give you victory over Goliath. So it doesn't matter if you're not the supervisor. It doesn't matter if you're not the boss. It doesn't matter if you're not the prayer warrior that everybody comes to. It doesn't matter if you're not the New York Times bestseller. What God has already processed you through was enough to qualify you. He made sure that when you got to the place where you are, whatever that place is, that you were ready. It was a specialized process for you. So it did not look like Saul, right? Your process may not look like the person who is on the stage before you. It may not even look like your mentor, but it was what you needed based on your spiritual gifts, based on your personality, based on your relationship with God. That is a key part, your relationship with God. And based on what he's calling you to do specifically, it is a formula that you need to make sure that you're processed and ready for the next level. And so after he let him know all of that, finally Saul's like, all right, you can do it. Here's my armor. This is the part. So I want y'all to walk through this, right? Because we are all called to do things this year. And it's not going to be a patty cake. The one thing you will never hear from me is that anything is a patty cake. It's always mountain high, valley low. Glory to glory. And what happens in between the glory, you got to climb. And climbing means that there are going to be some bumps. It means there's going to be some scrapes. It means there's going to be some blood. There's going to be some tears. It's going to be a little bit painful. But what God has promised us on the other end of the process is the promise, right? And so what we have to keep in mind is even once we get to that level, so I've bypassed my family and friends who didn't believe, right? I finally got to the place where I got in the ear of the person who holds the authority and the power that I need to do whatever. Then he's asking me to look like him. Do it my way. It's not going to work. I can't wear your armor. I can't speak with your voice, right? Your clothes won't fit me. Your style won't fit me. I am loud sometimes, but I'm also very quiet sometimes. I am not the person who can extrovert all day. That's not going to work for me, right? And so even though David initially put on the armor to honor and, be obedient to Saul, who is his king, he still had to come back to the things that God outfitted him with. So you have a particular set of skills. Love the movie Taken. You have a particular set of skills that God has given you that are going to work for you. There is an armor, there is a mantle, there is a crown that sits on your head that has been preordained and has been suited for you. Custom made, tailored for you. And it's going to do things that other people think aren't enough to get it done. So David went out there not with all this armor on. He went out there with the clothes that he wore in the pasture, them sandals he wore in the pasture, right? He went with his rod in one hand, and he went with a sling and 5 stones. Now, anybody else going to a battle, like, what are we doing here? Why? I'm not coming with some stones, right? Give me the heavy artillery. I need like a bazooka, like what we got going on, right? But the reality of it was that although he was doing something physical, he understood what was powering him was spiritual. Let me say that again. David understood that although what he was doing physical, it was powered by something spiritual. So even when he spoke, he said, I come in the name of, not David. He said, I come in the name of the Lord. And so I just want you to be encouraged. It doesn't matter what anybody else has. I don't care if they have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G behind their name. If they have 5 or 6, bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, doctorates, it does not matter. It doesn't matter if they've been a Christian for 25 years or if they're an elder or a deacon. What God has outfitted you with is what you need to move forward. That's it. And he alone will do the thing as long as we come in his name, understanding that it is he who empowers us. Joshua, he said, go forth. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. I am with you wherever you go. I have given you the land. So all we have to do once we receive that confirmation of whatever it is that God's calling us to do, whoever he's asking us to speak to, whoever he's asking us to pray for, maybe it's the person he's asking you to pay for something for, right? Whatever that thing is, when we recognize that we have heard the word of the Lord, what we are to repeat is the word of the Lord. And remember humbly that we come only in his name. And as long as he is with us and he is the one powering us, then his will be done. His will be done. No one gets to disqualify you from what God has called you to. So whatever your thing is, maybe it's just doing worship and all you have is your keyboard. That is more than enough to bring the presence of God into a place and allow people to come and experience God in a deeper way than they do any other time. That is the beauty of David. It wasn't that he was special. It was that his heart was for God in all times. Even when he messed up, it was God who he turned back to. And he only listened to the voice of God. So even in his darkest days, he was never disqualified because of man. Never. The same David that showed up ready to go to war for his wife and children is the same David that showed up with some loaves of bread, some wheels of cheese, trying to figure out who this Philistine was. And so I want you to be encouraged. There are things that are in your journal right now. There are dreams that you've had this year and last year that you know God has been like, hey, you have not started that yet. Where that blog at? Right? Where is the poem? Where is the book? You were supposed to reach out to so-and-so this year. You were supposed to mentor this person or put in an application for this so you could learn how to do whatever because you know I've called you to build it. You haven't done it yet because of fear, because you don't feel qualified, or because someone is telling you that you're not, because they're telling you that you don't have what you need based on their experience and what they have from operating in that position. And I'm here to tell you that you do. Like David, we do. We have what we need. And if God has brought you to the forefront, to that person, to that situation, to that environment, it means it's time to move forward. It means it's time to kill Goliath. It's time to kill the fear. It's time to kill the comparison. It's time to kill what we feel makes us inadequate and move forward with what God has put in our hands. And so I want to tell you that it takes boldness to still say yes in the face of adversity, in the face of not necessarily having the support that we thought we would have from family and friends, from mentors. It takes a bold yes to say, your stuff doesn't fit, and I'm still going to pick up these stones. Like, I'm still going to run full force forward to a giant that I probably barely come up to his mid-thigh. Maybe. I'm going to move forward and still do what I believe in my heart God's calling me to do, and know that God is going to be for me. So I want to encourage you guys. And listen, I am right here with you. There are huge things God is calling me to this year. And I'm having to look at Goliath. I'm having to look at fear. I'm having to look at my perception of self. I'm having to look at what's in my hand. I'm looking at all these other people around me who are much further in their ministries and maybe even much more comfortable with their voices, and still say yes. And still say yes. You too, sister, can still say yes. So know that your weapon is faith. Faith and speaking those things as if they were. So in this season, what you have to be careful of doing is not declaring fear, but declaring your faith. Declaring the things that God has said. God has called me to this. He is with me. He is for me. And so it's going to work out. I don't know how God's going to do it, but he's going to do it. I trust him. I'm going to do the things that I can do, knowing that God is going to do the rest. I know I don't have the money right now, but God has treasuries that far surpass what's in my bank account. Amen. You know what I mean? God is going to give me favor with men and with kings. So no, I don't know that person yet. But when it's time, God will open that door. Or he's going to connect me with someone who can open that door for me. Like, I'm not worried about that. That has to be our position. Whatever people bring us that are trying to disqualify, trying to snuff out our fire for the things that God has called us to do, our passion, our zeal to move forward, our attitude has to be, I know that, but I hear what you're saying. It doesn't change what I'm going to do. I'm still going to do the thing that God's called me to. And he's called me to do it with this little tunic on, this rope around my waist, these 5 little stones, and this slingshot. Yes, you have a sword, but if we're really honest, and this just might be the fleshly part of Crystal, you're not doing nothing with it no way. So you're not even qualified. You don't get to sit on the sideline and tell me what my God told me. I'm listening to that part, it's like that. Like, we have to look the enemy in the face and recognize the situation. How interesting that he would use his eldest brother next in line, right? You should be the next one in line to take over father's territory, take over the wealth of the family, to be the authority and the leader, and you're sitting on the sideline. You are the blood-tested, battle experienced big brother, and you're trying to shut me up. That's what the enemy does, right? He's trying to rock everybody to sleep, because if nobody's fighting, then he gets to come through God's kingdom without any resistance. But we're not going to do that this year. God has called us to be bold. And so whatever your bold thing is, as we prepare to go into April, there's still time to march forward. There's still time to do the thing. There's still time to write the book, or maybe it is a chapter. Maybe it's sitting down and making a plan for the business. Maybe it is researching a mentor. Maybe it's just back to the basics and spending time with God. Maybe it's asking God for a new set of friends. Do you have a Jonathan who's going to be for you in spite of what his family, because he loves you, because he's knit together, right? Because that was a kingdom friendship. Someone who sees you as the kingdom woman you are. Do you have that? Whatever the thing is, what it starts with is one step. You cannot march forward without making a step, and then the next step, and then the next step, until it's so repetitive and so deliberate and so in cadence, right? That it becomes a march. And so this is a rally call to my sisters. I have heard so many stories. I have so many sweet sisters who are building for the kingdom right now. And yes, there is real opposition. It's real. Fear is a real opposition. Finances can be a real opposition. Gatekeepers can be a real opposition. Warfare is real, but so is God. Our God is higher than the mountain. He is the one who created it. So in those moments, we're not going to forget what God said to us. We're going to look towards the hill from which cometh our help. Our help comes from the Lord. And we're going to remember that when we were yet even crossing Jordan, like Joshua, before we even made the first step, God came to us and he called our name. And he said, I am with you. Be strong and be courageous. Know that I am with you wherever you go, and that I have given this territory unto you. So whatever your thing is, God has given you the territory. You got the green light. He said it to you. You've received confirmation in whatever way that has come, through his word, through a sermon. Maybe it's a trusted advisor, or, maybe through prayer. However that's come, a dream, you've gotten the word. You've also had the confirmation. It's time to move. And so we're going to be bold together this month, and we're going to move forward. There are things that I'm going to do this week to make sure I move forward. And there are things I'm challenging you to do this week to make sure you move forward. So I hope that this was good for you. I hope that it gave you a little fire back. Listen, our fires are not going out this year. We're going to make it through. And we're not making it through on our knees. We are going to make it out on fire this year. You hear me? So I want you guys to put in the chat below, what is the thing that God is calling you to? What are you going to do in these last couple of days this month to just make that first step forward? To look your Goliath in the face and says, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? Okay. Shoot, ask God. Be bold like David. Like, what do I get, God, if I do the thing? What do I, because he David was trying to line up that reward. He was like, what do I get? Come on, Jesus, what? Remind me, Lord. I know you called me to it. But just remind me. I just want to know, like, what do I get? Okay. You said financial freedom. Amen. You said this will help me get my house. This is going to pair me with that kingdom friend. This is going to give me that mentor. Whatever that thing is, ask God. He's a good father. What I get with this? And then let those things, write it down. It's so important. Write the vision, make it plain. It's so important that we write what God has said, the dreams that He has given us, but also the word that backs it up. So in moments where you get hit, in moments where the Goliath stands up and starts to taunt you, and fear is real, you can go back and say, wait. I didn't call myself to this. I did not come up with this brilliant plan, because this is not even my personality. I wouldn't do that. And remind yourself who called you. If it is His will, it is His bill. If it's His will, when we walk into the place, it's His Spirit that makes it happen. We just have to show up. We just have to open our voice. We just have to type, right? We just have to shake a hand. But it's His Spirit that does it. It was His Spirit that was over the deep, right? When He said, let there be light, it was Holy Spirit who did it. And so the Holy Spirit who lives inside of us, as we are the temple, His temple, will do it. We have to show up for Him to do it, though. So that is your job. As we in March, show up. Show up, Lady Queen. Show up. We are waiting for you. We have need of what you have. Your voice is necessary. Your personality is necessary. Your hug, your nurturing, your laughter, your joy, all of it is necessary. Your story is necessary. And so do the thing. Do the thing this month, and we're going to encourage each other. So I'm going to put what I need to do this month in the chat. You put what you need to do, and we're going to pray and encourage each other. I hope you guys were blessed by this, and I look forward to reading all of your comments. Listen, if you are in the USA, or maybe you're okay with traveling overseas, I'm not going to say nothing about that. Listen, our second conference, the Queen Standard Conference, is happening October 11th and 12th. You don't want to miss it. That is going to be a dynamic time where all of us queens are going to be in the room together. We are going to worship. We're going to praise. We're going to get filled. We're going to get empowered and inspired for 2025. And there's going to be healing about how we see ourselves. And we are going to come out confident, more bold, more brave, and embracing our beautiful. The link will also be below. I hope to see you guys there. We're also expanding it, so we're going to have 2 grants for any underdogs, any comeback kids, or any ladies who are just starting to build like Nehemiah. We have something for you. We want to make sure that we use the resources that God has given us to empower other kingdom women, because we only win when we do this together. So make sure you register, and until next time, ladies, bye.